Darren and I really value integrity, confidentiality, safety, and trust, and are really committed to offering the best quality treatment.
We're dedicated to improving lives through awareness, self-discovery, growth, and healing.
We're devoted to our clients' well-being and will support each individual along their journey in creating a life full of happiness, peace, and success.
And when people come into treatment, what they get here is the same environment of people who are all in the same position. They're all trying to get well together, and they don't have to do it alone.
We think that we're escaping that pain, really, right? Because that's what we're trying to do, is get away from the pain, and we want to feel better.
I really suffer from being bored, and the minute that, like Andy would know, I'd pick up the minute he knew he had to go to work.
If I was alone at home, I could never have that silence. I would need to have something.
Yeah, just staying in the center of the people I need to be centered with, and not isolating and being by myself.
Yeah.
It's been huge for me.
Certainly don't feel that today. It's something that's changed 180 degrees there in me. It's comfortable in your skin, right? Liking that person in the mirror.
I never dreamed that I would be so at peace and calm with everything that has gone on, but that in itself for me is a proof of a higher power and the process of this program working, right? That is huge, and that's with me having the willingness, right, and the openness and the honestness, truly. Otherwise, I don't believe I would be here without those things, right? So it's just incredible.
I know for myself personally, what worked for me when I was in treatment centers is having people that had been through the same experiences, and I didn't feel judged by them. As support staff, our model is the same, but our approach is all different.
Because we're all each individuals who come at things a little bit differently, but together we make an extremely strong team. If that person doesn't click with one of us, then there's a really good chance that you'll click with somebody. And, as I said, when we go out into meetings, it's like somewhere you're going to hear your story, right? And you're going to relate on a level that will make you realize that, yeah, you can do this as well.
I think it's really beneficial for us to have such a diverse group of support and counselors that work here. Having that comfort, in a home, it's essential for someone to get well. And I think we provide that here on a regular basis. People come in and we don't have a judgment towards anything. It could be any range of things. So yeah, don't be afraid to come to us, because we have experienced a lot of it ourselves. We've learned a lot through this process, and I think the main thing for me in this treatment center is that it's not just addictions that we tackle all areas of life.
Yeah.
This is basically what it's about, is getting to know what our physical boundaries are, recognizing what is my own boundary and what would I need to do in order to make it look like a healthy boundary.
So I can have a relationship with you, and if that goes sideways, it doesn't change how I feel about myself. So I want you to like me, but I'm okay if you don't.
And that's why we feel that it's so important to do workshops, because all of these are so linked together. You got your boundaries, your beliefs, your values, your communication style, your self-esteem. We got to learn all this stuff because it's all connected. Bring your arms up like branches of a tree. Take a nice deep breath, and with your exhale, let's just walk that down. Bring it all the way down to your forearms, and if you can, bring your head right down to the mat.
Hi, I'm Kim. I'm the cook at Foothills Center for Change. We try to cook as nutritiously as we can. We serve lots of salads and with every meal. We try to include all of the food groups. We do home baking. Everything here is made from scratch. This would be brunch. Today, a typical brunch. We can cater to gluten-free, or we try to cook as much gluten-free as we possibly can. We can cater to specific client needs or allergies. It's truly one of the most rewarding jobs that I've ever had.
I sobered up over 20 years ago when my life had hit a huge bottom and every area of my life was unmanageable. My friends were upset, my family was upset, and it just seemed that everywhere I turned, there was chaos and drama. I didn't understand the disease of alcoholism. I didn't know anything about it. And I went to a meeting and was quickly educated that what was really wrong with me is that I had a disease. No matter how much I tried to control and what I tried to do, was never going to change that fact and never going to get a grip on my drinking. I didn't get to go to treatment, and because of that, I really struggled for about 2.5 years with relationships, emotions, responsibilities, stress. And I wished that I would have been given the opportunity to come to treatment. It would have made a world of difference for sure. But I really found a passion for helping people and working with others, and so decided to go back to school and became a counselor and really wanted to make this my life. And I'm just amazed at what sobriety has given me and what I have in recovery. I'm in a great relationship. My life has flourished. My children love me. I love me. And I would have never imagined, looking back where I started, that I would actually feel the way I do today and have the gifts that have come in my life. I'm truly blessed.
So I was first introduced to recovery in the summer of 1991. At that time, I had absolutely no idea what life was going to look like without using substances. To be honest with you, it was absolutely terrifying. But I did know one thing for sure. I knew that there was no way I could continue to go on the way I was going on. The life that I was living was not worth living anymore. Growing up, I had a great life. I was raised in a family that there was a lot of love. I was taught values. I was taught good morals. I was well-mannered. But I had a couple of other things going for me as well. One of those things was that I was to find out later. I have a brain that seems to process alcohol and drugs differently than other people's. And the other thing that's going on with me is that I seem to have this hole inside of me that could never be filled before I found recovery. That no matter what I did, it seemed to only bring a certain amount of relief for a temporary period of time. And substances began to do that for me. And the more alcohol and the more drugs that I put in, the more the hole inside got filled. And that worked right up until it stopped working. And it came to a point where it didn't matter how much substance I put in my body, I still felt a hole. I still felt an emptiness. No matter who I was with. I could be with people I loved. I could be with people I liked. People who liked me and who loved me. And I felt alone. Alone in a crowd. When I found recovery, I didn't think that I'd be able to function. I didn't think that I'd be able to live without substances. And I wasn't sure that I wanted to. Because what I've learned in retrospect is that substances were never my problem. They were always the solution to my problem. And that problem's me. And I had this hole that needed to be filled inside. And I felt incomplete as long as that was happening. Fortunately, I was introduced to people who were in a 12-step program who guided me and surrounded me with love and compassion and showed me this journey of recovery. Things began to happen that were way beyond my imagination. And I was able to develop a life that I just didn't think was even possible. And I'll tell you, there's no way I could have done it alone. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, the way I was feeling, the things that were going on in my head, I just was not going to be able to manage. I jumped in with both feet, and my life became absolutely amazing in a very short period of time. I was able to go back and get an education, and in 1995 I graduated as a psychiatric nurse, and I've worked in mental health and addiction since that time. And while that has been a phenomenal career for me and has offered me many, many things, working with people in recovery is something that is second to none for me. I've seen people come through the doors that you never thought were going to make it. It looked like it was impossible for them. And to watch the growth that starts to take place in people's life, the change that starts to happen, being in recovery and opening a treatment center is the greatest thing that has ever happened to me.
I knew I was an alcoholic before I came to treatment. I didn't know what that meant. I knew that I abused alcohol in a way that most normal people wouldn't, and that my drinking was affecting every aspect of my life in a negative way. My family, my friends, my job. I wasn't able to function normally without it, and everyday activities that most people would consider normal, I found to be almost insurmountable without some form of alcohol in my system.
What brought me here is I had lost the care of my sons. I came here very broken. I had no hope, not for myself, no love, no acceptance, no self-esteem, no healthy boundaries, and no healthy relationships. I didn't want to live anymore, especially after losing the care of my sons.
You know, I always felt that the workshops, for me, you know, they were able to ask the right questions that I probably wasn't going to ask myself.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what a boundary was.
Yeah.
And
I
wouldn't
know
have
what
known.
a healthy boundary was.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't know why I was uncomfortable in certain situations. And now to be able to identify it, it's...
Yeah, I didn't know I played victim to my past and played the victim role for so long, just holding on to that story, right?
Yeah.
And I learned that I could be empowered by detaching it and letting it go.
The idea that we have value as alcoholics and addicts, to me, was a really important discovery. That I don't have to be apologetic for being who I am and what I am.
Yeah.
Be
ashamed.
I don't have to feel that shame anymore.
Yeah.
I can let it be my past, and knowing that what I'm moving forward to is going to be something great. It's going to be something bigger and better than I could have even imagined possible when I was in my addiction.
I'm only a victim if I choose to be one. Right?
Exactly.
I have the choice not to. And today I choose not to, and that's what I learned in those workshops, you know, self-esteem and the boundaries and value. I never had those things, and how to break those old belief systems, you know, that I carried with me for so long, was those belief systems, and felt I had to be this way because I came from a long line of alcoholics. I was raised in an alcoholic home, you know, and I just thought that that's how I was supposed to be, and I had to be hard, and I had to be tough, and crying was for sissies, and it was mind over matter, and that's not the case. In fact, it takes a stronger person to show their true emotions and feelings than it does to just keep pushing it back down with some sort of substance.
Now, without the burden of living in active alcoholism, I'm able to wake up in the morning and do tasks that to most people would seem normal, but to me they almost seem like a gift. I can go to work, I can play with my children, I can go out and exercise, go for a hike. in the past, I've had people tell me, well, why don't you just stop using? Why don't you stop drinking? And I didn't know why. I didn't know why I couldn't. And I felt like I was broken because I couldn't do what was being asked of me. But now, coming through this program, having the counselors here, having the other clients here, to be able to sit down at night and talk about what they're going through as well.
Yeah.
It's changed my life.